che comunque il calcio è imprevedibile e le cose non sono mai scontate, quindi è anche la bellezza, no, di questo sport.
Io rappresentavo per questa squadra, era quello che non mollava mai, quello che doveva fare stare sempre sul morale, ma io mi ci trovavo bene perché sono sempre stato uno che mi piaceva dare fuoco ai miei compagni, incaricarli prima delle partite.
Il mio sogno si è avverato, è uno dei sogni dei bambini, di tanti bambini.
Gol è un qualcosa per la gente che riusciamo a fare diventare matti, riusciamo a fare diventare felici e contenti.
Con questa maglia devo veramente fare una performance diversa perché sto rappresentando uno dei club più grandi al mondo.
Morning everyone, bright and early, dosed up on too high dosage of Monster and coffee. Nice to see everyone. It's your three favorite hosts back again together for the second time in 2 weeks, which is very impressive by our very low standards. Hosni, Shane and Lab Gorilla. Nice to see everyone. Thanks for popping up early. Fahadinho Kim. It's been a hell of a week, as it usually is with the Shit Show Football Club, but I guess just cutting into business. Hosni, how's your week been, man?
Yeah, health-wise, not great, but I guess on the sporting side, it's been better than I can remember from last season. So I'm really looking forward for that to continue, but we'll find out, and with the title of this pod, we'll find out by later today if it's what we believe is true or not. How about you, John? Doing all right over there?
Hi guys, lovely to see you again. So I've got to say that this week, health-wise, not a problem. So Hasni, keep getting better, mate. Honestly, take care of yourself. But bloody motorbike got vandalized. So those of you on the chat will know that my bloody motorbike got vandalized outside of work. I don't know why people don't have anything better to do with their lives than to touch the Lab Gorilla's motorbike. If I could, I'd put knives that come out when someone touches them.
So let's put out a reward on this channel. If anyone has seen, or if you are indeed the person that has touched without permission Lab Gorilla's motorbike, then I don't know what to say there's a reward, but
you don't need to go to the police. Just share their info with John directly.
Reward. I will kick you in the balls as a reward. No, I've got a part that has to come in from Japan because the bike is old, so it's really annoying. Anyway, we've got lots to cover on the football side of things. So are you guys ready? Is everyone ready? Because it's a big one today, isn't it?
It's quite a big one.
All right. So chronological order, that's how we're going to run this. We're going to start with finishing off the last match day. It's a game that we didn't cover last week. And it's where's my bloody mouse? There you go. Napoli-Pisa game. Now, on the surface, Napoli won this 3-2. Fahadinho, great thing that you mentioned. Lab Gorilla looking smart with a makeover and a tuxedo. I've done this because apparently today is the first day that are we live on
we
X,
are live
Shane?
on X for the first time ever because Shane was decided to be a bit unstingy and just go for the blue tick mark on X because, we're official now. So that allows us to stream on X. So hello to all our X viewers as well for the first time ever live.
I feel absolutely privileged. And so I put on a tuxedo for it. And took a selfie. So that's where we are. So let's finish off with the Napoli game. It's a game that was 1-3-2. At one point, they were 3-1 up. They looked relatively comfortable. And then the mighty Di Lorenzo, who people are going to start to think I have a campaign against, did this. So 89th minute, ball comes down. Look at him. No danger. Players are running towards him, but there's no danger. He can hoof it. Remember, 89th minute, he can hoof it out of play, kick it up the pitch. What does he do? He passes it straight to the Pisa player. And the Pisa player, all he has to do is cross it to the middle and the ball is finished into a goal. 3-2. And then they've got an absolute scramble for the last few seconds. Now, what I did is something that I don't think has been reported in other pods. And it's to listen to the post-game interview by Conte. He was really not happy, and I'll translate it so we can all do this together, Shane and Husney, all right? But any comment regarding the match from you guys at all? Shane?
So we're going to get into the Napoli injury list, which is it's widespread across their whole defensive line, right? But to say that Di Lorenzo is going to be basically their only starter, I think what's going to be key is if you put Leao and Leao decides to show up, I'd rather put Leao, stick him on this guy, and pressure the shit out of him all of the game, and you'll get them to give up 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah, I got a feeling something's wrong with Di Lorenzo. That error at the last minute was very odd, very like passing it straight to a defender like that is with no danger around you. He's been making these huge mistakes. He's a liability, and I think he's definitely a point to attack for our squad. Yeah, Husney?
Yeah, I said it last week. I don't think he's that great of a player, but he seems to feature in the national team quite a bit. But I agree with Shane, and you're right. I think we need to capitalize on these sort of mistakes that they made in other games. And, if what Conte has said in public, and you can only imagine what Conte says in private to him, so then maybe this is the chance to really take on a player that's really, I don't know, let's say out of form or just not that great or not that good. But then if we were to put Leao there later in the game, I know that probably he's not too well to start. Where would he then feature? I was thinking about this, whether if Santi, again, has issues up front, maybe he could come off and Leao could come on. So that could be something that's interesting. But if not, I don't see Leao taking Estupinian's place because, as we know, that Leao is not really a defensive-minded player. So we could be exposing a little bit on that. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I agree with Shane.
But see, that's a good shout as well, Hosni, right? Because if you think about it, there's nothing stopping you from playing Leao and Pulisic together, right? But it's just, I could see Leao, if he's still, if he's gotten rid of the injury, right? I could see him doing more damage to Di Lorenzo than Pulisic. Do you see what I mean? Because like if you have like someone that's very like John said it in the last pod, if you get that ball in behind Di Lorenzo,
he's done for.
He's done for, right? Leao, I think, would be better at doing that than Pulisic.
Now watch, after we've done all of this and hyped it up, you watch Di Lorenzo puts in a Baresi performance.
Yeah, maybe. But you guys have to keep in mind that Conte is quite the high-level coach. So if there's any recurring problems with Di Lorenzo from the beginning, he's probably going to sub him off quite early on.
Yeah. True, but the thing Conte is, though, Hosni, we're going to get into this, right?
We will talk about this
again because it's not looking good for Napoli and the defensive side this game.
Yeah. Okay, so talking about a high-level coach, that's a great segue to the next point. I listened to the post-game interview that Conte gave, and he was really unhappy about this. If you watch this game, he had something that Conte doesn't usually do. He jumped up and down when Lorenzo Luca scored. He jumped up and down, went to him, hugged the player. He really was taking great pleasure in that. And the press picked up on this and said, why? This is very odd for you. Winning is not something that you should be surprised with. So let's listen to some of the stuff that Conte said. So this week I'm not doing an Italian pod, primarily because I'm quite busy with work. So let's just discuss a few things on here, guys. So, quick translation. La differenza tra noi e gli altri. The difference between us and others. Gli altri hanno già rose strutturate che hanno già fatto questo tipo di annate. So, other teams already have a squad that has got a structure to it because they've done these kind of seasons, okay? These kind of campaigns. Se metti 9 giocatori significa che hai messo mezza squadra dentro. If you've put 9 new players, it means that you've basically put in half a new squad. Significa che comunque le difficoltà le troverai. It means that you will have difficulties, anche perché c'è un bello scudetto sulla maglia che pesa. Even because you've got a scudetto badge on your shirt that weighs a lot. Crea grandi aspettative e soprattutto sui calciatori che comunque arrivano da altre realtà. And it says here, and it creates great expectations. especially for players that have come from squads that live in a different reality. This is, sentivo prima di Lorenzo Lucca, sono contento perché il ragazzo sta lavorando tanto. With Lorenzo Lucca, I am very happy because the boy is working really hard, ma viene da un'altra realtà, but he comes from a different reality. E da un'altra realtà ha bisogno di abituarsi. Sentire il livello e anche l'allenamento è importante perché ti alleni con un calciatore di un livello più alto e però bisogna avere tempo e pazienza. So he says he comes from a different reality and he needs to get used to working at this level, even training with players that are of a different level from where he has come from. So we have to have time and patience. So he's calling everyone, including the press and his fans, to have time and patience. He says, yes, it's really important that we have won 12 points out of a potential 12 points. Remember, guys, we're going up against the league leaders that have the only team that have won every game so far. We have to give them that respect, first and foremost. So, then, this is a very interesting point. He goes and says, quindi, quando poi sento di dire un mercato importante a livello numerico, perché quando compri 9 giocatori e anche se spendi 150 milioni, significa che se fai la media sono 15 o 20 milioni a calciatore. So this says, when I hear people talking about that we've done an important transfer in terms of money spent. Now, if we've spent 150 million for 9 players, that means that on average, you have spent 15 to 20 million a player. And then he says, calciatori importanti sono diversi, sono 50, 60, 70 milioni. Quelli sono calciatori importanti. So he says, important players are very different. They are 50, 60, 70 million euros. Those are real important players. So here he's already, in match day 4, guys, he's already having a word with ownership and saying...
Is he complaining about Moneyball?
He is complaining about Moneyball. And this, Shane, is why this guy would never have fit with our ownership. He expects and he requests, and if he doesn't get, he will say it openly to the press. These are not important players. I don't know how this works with his squad in terms of team morale, but he still seems to do it. But he has said 9 players, 150 million, do the average. It's just not enough. Important players cost far more than this. It stops there, and people just go, whoa. So
that's a bit harsh, because what you're essentially saying is, look, you're not ready, and if you're an important player, you know, we wouldn't have paid what they got him on the loan, didn't they? I believe.
I don't know what the deal with Luca was. I don't know. Shane.
That's a bit. I don't. See, that's a very silly thing to say, even though everyone knows he's speaking the truth, right? Because it's just like anything. Do you want to go, you know, if you go to the supermarket, right? You know, do you want to buy Tesco's brand or do you want to buy, I don't know, something more expensive, right? And there's a difference in quality between the two, right? It's just the way it is. But the thing is you're not doing any favors with your players. Because you're essentially saying if you arrived in at the 20 million mark, you're not an important player.
Yes. It's an interesting point of view, but this is Conte. He expects excellence. He does not. He does not mince his words. He never has throughout his career, and this is why he often falls out with ownership and then drops out completely. It's just the way he is.
Everything's on track for this to end horrifically. All right, this is great.
Right. Okay. Now this is something everybody needs to hear because it's not being reported. Il Milan è un'altra squadra che comunque l'anno scorso ha fatto la Champions, cioè la struttura della rosa è rimasta quella. Sono entrati altri calciatori, cioè chi ha fatto la Champions l'anno scorso o comunque anche l'Europa League. Hanno delle rose già strutturate, cosa che non c'è il Napoli. Now this is interesting. He says Milan is a squad that last year were in the Champions League. They even played before in the Europa League. They have a structure within their squad. Some players have remained and new players have been added. Hence, Milan have a squad and a structure, something that Napoli does not have. All right, we can stop there on that point before we move on to our Coppa Italia. Anything you want to say about that? Because that last bit shocked me, because
Yeah.
he's basically saying we are more well built than their squad is, which is very odd.
In my opinion, there's a few takeaways there. So Conte complaining, that's happened in a way whenever he was in the other teams as well. So that's nothing new. The way that I see it is that he's complaining from quite a high perch. So his standards are such that he expects maybe excellence every single game. So to me, I mean, that's just another sign of a high-level coach. I mean, the fact that he's topping the table without any draws, any losses, even at this early stage, he still expects more, which is something that you would actually have to take a hat off to him. But the one thing that he said in the end, and yeah, I found that surprising as well. He does realize that, and when we compare both teams going to this match, there are some areas where we do things better, even though we lost the first game. I mean, no one can deny the fact that we've kept several clean sheets already. I don't think we've had a mistake of that magnitude if we talk about the Di Lorenzo performance. So maybe he's just picking from my end. I mean, I don't think, not in a million years, would he ever think that he wasn't the favorites. The Scudetto winners, they have made reinforcements. I know the part about the money and average, but that doesn't mean that even a 20 million player can give you maybe a 40 million player performance. So that's not something that's alien to us. We've seen it before, buy for cheap, but then say, hey, this guy's actually not bad. And this could actually happen quite a bit in the Napoli team. So to me, if you ask me, it's a lot of smoke screen, maybe some mind games, but nothing out of the ordinary for Conte. How about you, Shane?
Yeah, it's 100% mind games bullshit. That's essentially what he's trying to do. He's trying to instill some sort of like false self-confidence. I mean, if you're a Milan fan, right, you know what he's speaking is bullshit, because you know that you have Pavlovic in defense, you have Estupiñán in Teo's rightful position that Teo would have fucking destroyed the league this year in. You then also have Fofana starting. You have Jimenez, who I still do like the player, but his shooting boots were not on until the game that we're about to cover. So there's a lot of overall. This is kind of a very Mourinho-esque type, bullshit move, which is like, I'm going to take all of the stress off the players and I'm just going to load it onto myself. And it's a good thing to do if you're a manager. That's what you should do, right? The thing is, though, is that I can't go back. I can't get out of my head the earlier point that he said, though, about, the value of the players, because essentially, like, he's not going to do any favors with his existing players by doing that. So that's going to, like, if the intent is to get more out of the player, then it might work. I suppose he'll know his players better than anyone will, right? And I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to indirectly say to the 20 million euro player, show me what you can do, right? But I think there's maybe a more calculated way of saying that rather than what he's done. But I just want to go through, it's bullshit. It's essentially what he's saying is bullshit. It doesn't have any water.
I think it's interesting that he's letting this out in the press, and he was answering reporters. He was really angry after the Pisa game. Of course, he's Italian. He's very emotional. He will just speak his mind. He's got nothing to hold back, right? He's got no fear of anybody, Conte. He never has, he never will. He's not thinking, oh, I need a job. He doesn't care about that. He just wants wins. And I don't know how he turns that around in terms of the psychology of the players. I don't know how he does it, but he does it, Shane and Husney, because he's proven time and time again. But he doesn't last very long because that kind of an approach eventually rubs people the wrong way, and eventually they get rid of him.
I think, John, I'd mentioned this was a year or two ago, and the one concern I had was, when everyone was pushing for us to get Conte over, let's say, Allegri. Which was the problem is with Conte is that he is, I think because of moves like this, right? I think what he does, why he's so successful is he can tap into the psychology of a player and get them to give 110%, right?
Yes.
But 110% of everything doesn't last very long because a person will burn out.
Yes.
And
yes.
essentially what you have then is once you have one person burn out and start going, they'll talk to the other players and go, do you know what? I don't know what more I can give, right? And then that just becomes squad-wide discontent. And this is why he doesn't last very long.
How about you imagine at the time that the club, Milan, brought in Fonseca? The difference between Fonseca and the way he just got on with it because he was a lapdog versus Conte. Conte would have just laid waste to everything, and that would have been... I don't know what would have happened, honestly, Shane. I generally don't. I let's just say it is surprising, but... I kind of thought, is he laying out the excuses? In golf, it's like before you start at the first hole, oh, my arm hurts, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then all and behold, you win the game. You know what I mean? And so they kind of just beware that this guy's saying these things. Don't let your guard down. And I think Allegri's too experienced to let his guard down over comments like this, which he will be very aware of.
But what is his expectation really? Because if he's complaining about the amount spent over the number of players that have come in, he has to be reminded that he still has 4 competitions to play. We don't have European football. So had we been in his shoes or the situation that he's facing, he would maybe have 80 million for 10 new players from leagues unknown. So yeah, I mean, as ownership and maybe Conte he is as used as he is to the league, still maybe expects that a top team like or winning team like Napoli can match any Premier League team. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to be able to spend like 300 million in one transfer window. No club in the league can afford that. So
De Laurentiis is just, he's watched that, I'm sure, right? He has listened to that and gone, you absolute a-hole. De Laurentiis also is a fiery character. So the two of them together...
The two of them can coexist, you see. This is why I'm surprised that the whole partnership has lasted so long. Because the two of them are just... The two of them, like, very opinionated, right? And the two of them won't take shit.
Yeah.
But they want different things, essentially, I think, when it comes to the overall squad. Because De Laurentiis is, to be honest, I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Right? But
yeah. I don't think any Italian squad is capable of truly having a go at all 4 competitions. I don't think any Italian squad can do that. Inter, okay, I think overall Inter, in terms of their bench, they're most well-rounded, but I just don't think they will collapse. And last year they collapsed in everything on every front at the end of the season. They just didn't have enough in the tank. They were completely empty, and only hyper teams can kind of do that. And you know who those hyper teams are, who have two completely strong squads that can literally replace each other. I don't think Italian teams can. And I think Conte is just making you aware of the fact that, look, working on all of these different fronts, having gone to Man City, being beaten because of red card, the exertion that goes in that, then you go into Serie A, it's too much of a push. And the fact is, they won the game, even though they've just come back from the Champions League. And that's another point, Shane and Husney. A lot of those Italian teams that went into the Champions League then struggled the following week, because that's what happens. It takes it out of you. Okay, let's move on to the Coppa Italia and the win against Lecce. Now, my view on this was we should have fielded anyone we wanted. We could have fielded or started the new starters in the back, Atakami and others. In the midfield, we could have played the Ruben Loftus-Cheek, the so-called powerhouse, because Lecce just are not up to anything. They're just not a squad to put anyone in danger. Having now watched every single team in Serie A, having had the privilege to have sat down and watched that thanks to the Zone, I can safely say Lecce is one of the worst squads I have seen in quite a few years, actually. So what happened in the game? Well, it was 0-0 until the 18th minute when Siebert got sent off, and basically then, Milan just went and had fun. Jimenez scored a couple of minutes later, then Nkunku, and I did not remember that Nkunku had this balloon celebration. Where did he get this balloon out of? By the
His
way,
sock. He kept it in his sock.
Did he
got it in his
really?
sock, is it?
Yeah, he did.
Oh God! All right, okay.
Okay, runs
He's
around with
prepared
that.
at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Pulisic, of course, came in with a lovely finish as well himself. A very easy 3-0 win. Let's just give your opinions on it. By the way, the only thing I want to say is next round we've got Lazio, who are also absolutely dreadful this year.
Yeah.
But let's take it through. Hasni, what did you think of the Lecce game?
Yeah, I thought it's good. In terms of the, you're right, John. And we've known, I guess it's been a few weeks already. But when you were at Lecce, we would most probably have be able to win it. Then came the red card, so that pretty much sealed it in. And very much after that, it turned into a Milan training game. Very happy with the goals of the players that scored. Jimenez, yes. I am observant of one thing, and after the game, not only did I watch some of the older highlights, I watched how we score the goals. I know that at the beginning I complained about us not scoring from open play enough, so I guess that's pretty much settled. But what we're doing is that in the transition, when we bombed up from the wings, we're crossing it in at pace to forwards that are in the box. I am worried that tactic might get found out against a better team because I don't know if you just stay compact and just pack the box, maybe we don't have the same chances. So that worries me a little bit. But over the whole, I thought it's great. It's good to see Bartezaghi. I had hoped this management would actually put Bartezaghi ahead of Estupinian, but maybe they see Estupinian as more of the better profile for the league. But yeah, some good rotations as well. I'm glad that Santiago finally managed to connect again from that Bartesaghi cross. So we getting the goals from both wings, which pleases me a lot. And defensively, clean sheet, taking as all as many positives. Shane, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, overall, the game was never in no doubt. So I covered this as well during the week. I was fortunate enough to be a guest on the MLM podcast. Shout out, like and subscribe. Check him out on YouTube, guys. Great content. After you like and subscribe to us, please. Super important. So we covered it. I think the overall it was the result was never in doubt, right? I think John, you covered it a couple of podcasts ago when you said Lecce are just set to go down. They're a nothing team. What is it? Di Francesco,
Yeah,
is the coach. I mean, doing nothing there. Nothing about this team tells me it's going to stay up in Serie A. So it's essentially we're playing a Serie B squad. The sending off was that was correct, right? Siebert. It just made our life so much easier. I was delighted to see Jimenez finally get on the score sheet.
it was a good finish. He got in the space, didn't he?
He did, and what I liked about it, John, was you see, I miss the days when we had, and I'm not saying that they're the same type of player in terms of quality. Do not rip me a new one on Twitter.
Here we go. Let's hear the name.
However, what I liked about Jimenez's goal was the fact that it was very like an Inzaghi type goal, which is like
Oh my god!
it was right, because it's like if I can just get the ball to hit off my body in some place that's not my hand and it goes into the goal, it's still a goal.
Mm.
And it was very opportunistic, and I really enjoyed that. So I mean, shout out to Jimenez finally got himself on the score sheet. The after that though, it was just all one way traffic. We were all over them. And Cuckoo, great finish. That kind
It
of
was a lovely finish on it. Yeah,
that
it was
half
lovely.
bicycle kind of that, that was
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, shout out to him. He's definitely not Chucky. He's much better.
With the balloon, yeah.
With the balloon. And then we had Pulisic just to complete the route, and a route it was. It was just all one way. To be honest, while it's always good to get a clean sheet, and these are very important, this is a very important metric, I think. If we can start focusing on the amount of clean sheets that we can tally this season, as opposed to the amount of goals that we score. Scoring goals is always nice, but the more clean sheets that we can, maintain, right, the closer we get to the top four. Hopefully we can stay in the top four. Hopefully, a bit further, wherever that bit further is. But it's great to see games like this. But what's super important for me is that we are commanding respect from the teams that we played so far. Doing that against very low quality opposition, which is what we've played so far, is one thing. If we can have a commanding game against the likes of Napoli and Juventus in the next game, that sets a whole different metric. Right? So these are why these next games coming up are key for our complete season. If we can come out with, I'm going to say, if we can come out by not losing against Napoli, so if we get a draw, I will take it.
Well, it's that's why you entitled the pod Contenders or Pretenders, right?
Exactly.
So we're about to be found out whether this is one or the other. But we'll get to that in a minute, guys. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I just want to ask both of you. Yeah. Maybe I'll start with you, John. Is that I want an opinion from you. And since Zlatan came back, we've always depended on a very slow profile up front. So Zlatan, even when he came back, he really couldn't run. Then we had Giroud. Okay, not as slow, but he was still an age profile. Then we depended a lot on Morata, and Morata's never been fast in the first place.
Morata.
But do you think that with relying on Jimenez, and now that we have a second striker, be it Pulisic or maybe Leao, if he gets to feature, do you think we are actually faster up front? Because I think there's a big difference to what we were expecting under the 4-2-3-1. What are your thoughts about that, John? Are we a quicker team?
I think definitely. We're not a team that necessarily holds the ball, although with Modric in the middle, it's possible. But those defense-splitting passes are now coming from anywhere. Mostly Modric, of course. He's got that incredible outside-of-the-foot pass in his arsenal, and so many other things. But it's a much faster team. It's a much faster team that can break in transition. And this is the thing about teams that will go at us might actually be even better for this squad. It'll be quite interesting to see, especially with Leao once he's inserted in there. Jesus, I wish Leao was fit to start today, because I think he would really score a few goals. Santi's an interesting player because he gets always in the right positions. He's hit the bar several times. It's not like he's not getting there. He's always getting there, but his finishing needs a bit of work and needs a bit of confidence. Hence why I think Shane earlier says good to see him score his first goal of the season so far. But yeah, I think this Milan squad has got a lot more. But I would say, if you look at the midfield, right, Hasni, Rabiot, is he about pace? No. Salamaker, is he necessarily about pace? No. He's more about trickery and being able to go past players through that. I think it's a really technical midfield. On the strikers front, you can see that we've got the option hasn't he? And it's maybe the first time in a while that we've really got that option of saying, do we want to go all out pace, or do we want something different? Do we want the big guy up top and just have the ability to cross it in for him? That flexibility is something maybe, yeah, as you said, it's something we haven't had in quite a while. That's how I see it. Shane, what about you?
I don't think this is a difference in the speed, right? Because when you look at it, right, it's this team was built as let's say, a physical, fast team. I think that's always been there. I think the big key difference since Allegri's came in is that the players believe in the project and they press and they press and they press. I think if you have a type of player like Rabiot that can do the cleaning up of the balls, right? Modric as well, like with some of those sweet passes to just get the ball and deliver it. I think there's a big difference there. But to get the ball first, right, you have to press. But you're seeing it all over the pitch now. You're seeing Pulisic pressing, right? You're seeing Jimenez running back, right? Players will only do that if they believe in the manager and they believe in the message and they believe in the project. This is the big difference. You see, because you didn't see any of this. You've seen parts of it under Conceição, some of it limited, right? But it was there. Fonseca, you see none of it. Pioli, there was none of it, essentially, for the last couple of years. Right? Yeah. So, essentially, this is the difference between when you have a project that the players believe in, because they will work for you.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the big difference. I think the athleticism has always been there. The speed has always been there. But now we press and we go for the ball more. And I think that's the key difference for me.
Okay, so I'll say something, though, on that, Shane. I think our opponents so far have been very passive. Okay, 100%, so yeah. I'm going to give that caveat right now, because it's easy to press teams that stand off you. And when they get the ball, think about it. We played Lecce twice. Yeah, they shit their pants every time they get to the final third. Udinese, I'm not going to go into that discussion. You know my opinion on it. Bologna, they were the one team that I thought would maybe have some remnants of a decent squad from last year, but I think they are really struggling. And they lost to Aston Villa as well, by the way, in, I think, the UEFA Cup, because that's what they got into by winning the Coppa Italia from us. And they lost to Aston Villa in a really turgid 1-0 loss. And Villa are not up to anything this season. So I think we've got a lot of passive teams so far. This is why the title of this pod, in my opinion, is so perfect, because we need to see what this project, this manager, this squad is capable of doing against teams that have that X factor. Those players that are capable of really, managers that can really look through you and see through you. Conte will see through anything, any weakness in this Milan squad. And as a full squad,
R.I.P. Pavlovic tonight.
Well, I'm just saying. This could be very interesting. To our Modric, they have their Kevin De Bruyne. I still say Modric is better, but why has no team so far been able to put a player on Modric? And I think it's because they're so limited that they can't do that. It can't be that the managers can't see what we as fans can see. I think their squads have not had a player capable of really marking Modric. And I think Napoli do. So that's why I'm really curious to see before I judge this project entirely. I told you last week, I fully expected Milan to have been, at this point of the season, full wins. The two teams that I thought might give us a bit of, more trouble were Udinese and Bologna. They did not, in truth. And so that's good. That's above what I expected. I think more comfortable than I expected. And now we'll see. Now we'll really see. So let's talk about our opponents in a minute, okay? Hasni, anything else you want to say before we move on?
No, just minor thing, and I want to add that I'm seeing that our attack start a lot from the midfield, so that's a big difference to where we had the 4-2-3-1.
We used to bypass it, didn't we? Yeah, we used to bypass the midfield.
So we don't need to build from the back, and once we have the interception from the midfield, it turns straight away into attack. So that's a big positive for me.
Yeah, Great point.
Just
Yeah,
a quick,
Rabiot's a massive addition. I think we can all agree on that. Incredible last minute addition.
a quick update. I've just noticed that from Matteo Moretti on X. So apparently, word is going around the locker room that Moynihan's already decided that he's leaving. He's going to sign a pre-contract with a new club in January.
Oh, it's expected, though. We spoke about that last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's expected, and we can't blame him for that. Really,
No.
I don't think anyone should bring any hate on Manyan.
No, not at all. Because I mean, he's done enough for the point in his career that he's at. To be honest, I will say this as well. I think you can purchase, if you're smart, you can purchase a very, very capable goalkeeper for not a huge amount of money, right? I'd like to see an Italian in there, but I think Mike, being the way that he is, I mean, he's barely played for us this season. So, it is what it is.
Good
morning, Raymond.
Raymond.
Nice to see you, man.
Morning, sir.
Also, Fahadinho, this is a very fair point. So, despite all my glazing of what's his name, Jimenez, right? For Allegri's system, right? You need a complete centre forward that can hold up the ball as a target, the fast runner that can create mainly score. Santi's definitely not that player. That is very valid. There's no getting around that.
You can't. Santi has the size to be able to be that player, but he's not. He's not a physical behemoth that, as we all know, the Vlahovic that Allegri is used to having. He's not that, but okay, all right. Let's now match day 5. So the current match day, as we all know, a couple of games were played yesterday. I managed to get a few games in myself to watch. So Juventus via Atalanta, that was a massive clash, and I was very curious about this. And Shane, I did post in the WhatsApp group. Hasn't, if you want to advertise the WhatsApp group before I go on?
Yeah, to anyone listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and on X, if you would like to join our WhatsApp group, just drop us a DM. We'll be sure to add you. It doesn't cost a cent. We will not charge you anything. Maybe a bit of your sanity, but that's about it. But we welcome anyone, boys and girls, guys and ladies. It's great, yeah. All about Milan, and I guess other general interest topics as well. No restrictions.
And my motorbike stories.
Yes.
What's broken on John's motorbike this week?
Yeah, my Fury, yeah. Right, so the game yesterday, Juventus were at home, finished 1-1. Atalanta took a 1-0 lead. Now, the one thing to say about Atalanta, yes, Gasperini has left, but the backbone of that squad is intact. If Juric chooses to play them, he chose Lecce last minute. I think they signed a player called Hristovic from Lecce, believe it or not. That's the Lecce striker. And yes, last season he did all right. But for God's sake, the guy's not a replacement for Retegui, and he's definitely not a replacement for Lookman. And Lookman was sitting on the bench. Juric will risk that squad and their standing in the league if he does not fix this and just get over yourself, start to get the best out of all the players, field your best players, for God's sake, because
I think Lookman's gone in January, dude, because the way that he's treating, for obvious reasons, we all know Lookman wanted to go. We can understand really where it's coming from, right? But at the end of the day, right, Atalanta are a professional club when it comes to realizing returns on players, right? So, if you're not playing Lookman, he's not scoring. And if he's not scoring, then his value is going down. So why would you, if it's to punish the player, you're really punishing the club more than the player.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why wouldn't you play him, really?
It's weird to see a team with that striker up top missing. Like he had, Hristovic had a massive open goal in front of him, and I think he hit it near the corner flag, man. And I was thinking, no, this isn't a top quality player. You've got quality in every single part of that pitch, and then you get up top, and you've got people who are just shooting blanks. But anyway, they took a 1-0 lead, and then they held on. they then ended up in a red card. Juventus equalised. Very interesting game. I would say that Juventus are not, having watched them several times now. First of all, the Atalanta goal came from a Juventus mistake in the midfield. They literally gave the ball straight to an Atalanta player who then ran on and finished. Atalanta, to their credit, fielded a 17-year-old in their squad. So the youth project is open. People are not afraid to play young players. And Juventus had a lot of very interesting young players. And they, out of all the squads that I've seen so far, have the most, the way I'd put it, technically gifted players in that squad. It's like they've got multiple number 10s. And it's really interesting to watch how random their attacks are. They come from anywhere because these kids are capable of taking the ball, going past 3 or 4 players, and then shooting on goal and scoring. They're a very interesting squad, guys, and I would say watch out. Tudor is not a high-level manager, and they are having a huge problem in defense, especially Di Gregorio in goal, who is not an elite goalkeeper. That's their big soft spot that they have. But in the midfield and up top, they have got options, guys. They really do have options. And Juventus are our opponents after this game, after a Napoli game. I'll be very curious to know how we handle them because they have pace, they have technical ability in bundles. And it'll be really interesting to see like a Yildiz against Pavlovic. I'm really curious to see how that works out, really. Any comment on this game, guys?
Yeah, I watched the highlights. If you had asked me even before, what you've mentioned, and you're right about the thing about Lukman, whether 1-1 was a fair result, I think if you were Atlanta, you would say that against Juventus, a lot of fans, maybe Atlanta fans, would take that. But that being said, is that maybe better situations than the Juventus could have won. I remember Kalulu being, a big shout out to Kalulu. I think I wish he was still in our squad. So he's getting really involved in the game. But that being said, is that Juventus, if you ask me, they look quite vulnerable. Yeah, you're right, John. Yeah? Offensively, they have many tools at their disposal, and they have, capable of screamers from their forwards as well as their midfield. But defensively, yeah, they don't look that great. Especially with the goal that they conceded. And you're right, about the Di Gregorio. But what can be said when any player out of form faces us, they turn into some legendary character that or a legendary player that we just can't seem to shake off. So we have to keep that in mind, is that these players, they reserve their best games for Milan. And that's what worries me a little bit.
Yeah. Shane?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned this in our pre-chat where we're all in the studio before the pod kicked off. So Juventus, it kind of reminds me a bit about what they were doing in the mid-90s, right? So in the mid-90s, Juventus went through a bit of a rebuild, right? And next thing then, they ended up with players like Zidane in the midfield. And next thing then, they went and won the Champions League. And no one wants that. Except Juve fans, right?
Yeah.
So no one wants this, right? So I think it's a very scary project that they're building here. Yeah, I think the defense is junk, so they're not going to win. They need to shore that up. But when you have a club like Juventus, they're not afraid of dropping like 50, 60, 70 million on a defender.
No, they're not. No.
So, I mean, it's scary times ahead, to be honest. I think people are sleeping on Juventus. If they get themselves a serious
what do they
manager,
need to? They can get a steal from Milan, right? From Kalulu.
Yeah, that's it. No, give him Pavlovic. Just, pretend he's a serious player and then charge them 80 million off to the races, lads.
I mean, by the way, talking about players being given away, Musa came on for Atalanta as a sub. And when Juventus scored the equaliser, it was like 3 Atalanta players, the first one being Musa, just stood there watching.
Yes.
And you're like, oh Jesus, what? Why
At least
this
he's
manager?
consistent. At least
This
he's
coach,
consistent.
yeah, he
He's
is.
consistent, John.
He has not improved. I can tell you that much. Not one bit. I'll say something else as well. By the way, really, really exciting player, and I think excellent goalkeeper for the national team. Potentially giving Donnarumma a run. Carnesecchi, the Atalanta goalkeeper.
You see,
Very,
I was going to name him as a player that I wanted us to get
very good. Wow.
because you could get him for like 25 million.
I mean, I don't know. I think he's a very high quality keeper. I've watched him too many times now, and no, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Right, next game. This is an interesting game, and I was very interested in this game because I had that was my big bet of the week. La Gorilla's big bet of the week wasn't Inter winning away to Cagliari. This game stressed me out a bit. Now, Cagliari, first of all, first thing to say, that guy on the left, can you see he's wearing a Cagliari shirt? Is Fabio Pisacane. He is, yes, Shane, I said Pisacane. You can laugh as much as you want. He's 39 years old, a former Cagliari player, played 151 games for them, and is a defender. And the first thing I noticed about the starting lineup, Cagliari, 7 Italians, guys. 7 Italians. Again, totally envious of that. Then the game started, and I'm telling you, Inter were in total control at the beginning. Scored an early goal, Lautaro Martinez, and I thought, oh, they're going to kick on from here. But Cagliari showed that they've really got some fight in them, and they gave Inter a lot of trouble. They held on to the ball quite well, and when they got the chances, they really had a go at them. So I suspect that Cagliari will, they should make it. They should stay in Serie A. Now, Pio Esposito, we got to talk about him. Young Italian forward for Inter that came on as a sub. Lo and behold, the kid goes and scores his first Serie A goal. Pisses me off no end that Inter have brought in a young Italian striker, and he goes and scores his goal. What have you guys got to say about the Inter Milan game? At the end of the day, very important win for them. They've now got 9 points, and they're starting to look up to the table again. Shane.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, what would you expect, really? You know what I mean? So I don't think that the Inter manager doesn't strike me as someone with quality. I don't think there's a serious project really there. I think the longer he stays there, the better, especially as he starts playing against decent teams. I think he's going to get found out. That's going to result in drop points, especially during the Champions League. So they're going to be tired. If there's any, with us playing in only one series competition, because fuck the Coppa Italia, it's pointless. I think if we don't finish second this year, right,
Yeah.
there's no better time really to do it. Roma are not on form, which I was expecting more out of them with Gasperini, to be honest. Lazio are just junk this year. Atalanta, as you know, junk, right? Juventus.
Thank Musa.
Yeah, exactly, Musa, right? With Juventus, I can't, they're not ready yet. They need a serious manager and a defensive line. With those two components, right, they're going to be a serious team, but they're not there yet. So that would leave us in Napoli so far, right? I don't think that we have when you add up all of our components, I don't think that we can match Napoli. That being said, right? However, the season is long, things can happen, right? And we're only playing in one competition, which is going to help us. But that being said, I am quietly excited about the damage that we can do in the league this year, right? So this is why the next 2 games for me are key. If we can have like a 12-point or 9-point lead over Inter, which I think are going to be, maybe 3rd or 4th place, like that could be fucking brilliant by like January time. Do you know, if there was like a gap and it was us and Napoli duking it out, I'd be comfortable with that. So stranger things have happened. I mean, if Allegri, I don't want to jump on the hype bandwagon, right? But if it's a thing where if we're neck and neck with Napoli going into January and Napoli are still playing in the Champions League, right? Conte is going to go for the Champions League. Napoli already have like serious injury problems in the defensive line, right? I mean, I don't think I kind of covered this enough, but we have Ramani, Spinazzola, Oliveira, and Bongiorno out tonight, right? So their only defensive starter is Di Lorenzo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can have a good rattle off of them tonight, right? And see how they react. So but really what I want to see though, and this is my big aim for, like, I'd love to see it. Hopefully in 2026 we see it. I want to see Inter completely capitulate because they've had it too good for too long. You know, you're not telling me that they haven't breached financial fair play somewhere. Where even if they haven't been spending big on players, right, their wages are twice the amount of ours. Right? Like, you know, the club are running on empty, you know, and not to go into the stadium talk too much, because we've already done it to death, I think, at this point, right? Because there's only so much you can report on it, right? But the complete cuck move that could happen if we don't get the San Siro renovated is that there was a report in the papers now saying that Inter would like to share a stadium with us in San Donato. So in other words, Milan have bought the land. Milan have, you know, could potentially break ground at any point, right? And Inter's gift for having a club that was financially ran into the ground, right? You know, with terrible financials. Their gift will be a stadium that we will have built for them. When this is how generations of football clubs are built, right? Do you know what I mean? You could literally turn around and go, we could have such a gap between us and Inter if we cut them dry. If we kind of say, fuck you, sorry, we're going to build our own stadium, right? Like, that will never happen though, because Cardinale is an American businessman and it's an American fund that own Inter, right? But in an ideal world, we would cut Inter loose, right? Let them sweat while they try and, you know, they turn up into a stadium that's probably a year or two behind ours if they can even afford it. Because my opinion is I don't think that they can. So what you would do then is you're financially crippling them for the next decade. Fuck them, right? That's what you do. So like
Shane is definitely not an Interista, you can tell, hasn't he? There is no way that Shane can. Those red stripes are not turning blue anytime soon. You can tell quite clearly.
Yeah, that's actually not his shirt, it's his skin.
It's a tattoo.
Very good. I mean, everyone wants Inter to absolutely collapse. Unfortunately, we know the truth is that we've got people within our own club that are basically working alongside them. It's just the truth. Hasn't he? Any more comments you want to make on this before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but I caught a bit of the highlights. And I don't want to say something, but this is in relation to Camarda. Any player who is in that situation, you are, you know, highly rated young prospect, and you got eyes. You know, you can see how other teams other top level teams manage their youth, and especially players that you should say that you believe in. And he sees that game. What do you think is going through Camarda's mind?
It hurts me.
You go back to Milan management, and they give you this big spiel about, oh, maybe next season you're going to have to be loaned to this club and that club. Essentially, you get passed around until you rot. So we've got to think about the big picture here, because management is definitely not, it really doesn't care. If you want real development, take a risk. Inter took a risk because, you know, I was, even though I didn't watch the game, but I was keeping an eye on the scoreline. They were 1-0 for quite a while. Yeah, I mean, at any fluke, Cagliari could have actually equalized.
I was nervous. I was nervous because of my bet.
So I had thought that even if Inter were to win it, they would have won it by a single goal. But yeah, they scored the second goal. So what makes you think that? And why would they even risk it? I mean, they didn't have to. But other than the win, all it then does is that it also sends a message throughout the league is that, hey, we're a team that we're willing to take a risk on our youth player.
That's right.
What happens
That's
if
right.
next season they go to Camarda and say that, hey, I know you've been with Milan for a while, you've been up their ranks, but maybe this is the time to switch to us, and then you lose not only Camarda to another club, but to a direct rival.
Yeah.
I mean, the story is
Yeah.
writing itself at this point.
Yeah, I mean, let's read out comments from Raymond. Happy for Esposito. Hope he comes good this season. Italy are in desperate need of a high-end striker. Esposito is a talent that Inter have been watching for a while, and you're absolutely right. They were only 1-0 up, and they took an opportunity. They brought in this player. It wasn't that they were comfortable and they were just going to bring him in. He was brought in to do a function, to score a goal, and he did exactly that. The other thing is, as I said earlier, Atalanta started with a 17-year-old player. Juventus, very young players as well in their squad, very talented, and they don't seem to be fearful of just trying this new talent. On our side, that is the big, I think, letdown in terms of how emotionally unattached I am still. I am happy that you're happy, Husney and Shane, about Milan winning. I really am. I genuinely am. But I can tell you, despite these wins, despite these performances, I tune in because I am curious from a tactical perspective about how Allegri does things. I am curious about, and I feel very lucky that Modric is wearing our shirt. And he's a player that you should spend every minute you can watching playing football for as long as he's able to play the game, because he is that level of special. But do I turn on because I'm really excited about Milan and the project? No, because there's no one that's going to be coming on that's going to be saying that's got that identity for me. And honestly, to you guys, Gabbia's got that identity and Modric has that identity. But for me, no one else has got that identity within that squad. And I did something a few weeks back, and I think I might have briefly mentioned it to you both. I did a comparison last season of starting lineups, a number of Italians. Do you know where Milan ranked last season in terms of the fewest number of Italians? Do you know where they ranked?
I think we were second bottom, I think. Yeah?
That wouldn't surprise me, yeah.
Second bottom.
Yeah.
I think the median number of starting Italians was like 1.2. I'm sorry, that's not my identity. That's a problem I have. And Shane, you laugh about this and you joke about this, but you know very well, if we're being actually serious about this for a minute, Bastoni, Barella for Inter are just two names that start every single game when they have a test. And then you've got teams that are willing to go. And literally this year, we're probably looking at Como, whose manager has openly said, I don't want Italians, I want Spaniards. Okay, that's their choice. And for that, I hope they rot and I hope they go down the league table. I thought that they were going to have a completely open mindset regarding just bringing all the best talent and do it. Instead, Fabregas has gone down his route, which is a very lazy route to go down, is I know players from my country, I'm going to go and select them from there. I think Morata is going to cause them huge problems this season. Shane, tapas are better than pasta. No, they're not. So don't set me off on whilst we're on a live. Hi, Max, by the way. And Raymond says, this management are not looking to develop young players for the long term. They're only looking for a quick profit. Camarda is better off away from Milan. I'm sorry to say that I got to agree with that. But anyway, so that was my little comment on that regarding what I saw with Cagliari. I almost felt gutted. If I'm honest, I felt gutted when I saw that. I was like, for God's sake. And then Inter did that. And it wasn't, as we said, a game that was comfortable. They were only 1-0 up, and Esposito came in and he basically finished off Cagliari, which was good for them. All right. So, the league table. Let's just have a quick look at the league table. It's starting to really take shape, isn't it? This is kind of an interesting... If finishing positions were like this, would I be surprised? I don't think so.
Cremonese. What reality did I wake up in?
No.
Yeah, they haven't
Shane,
lost the game. Yeah.
remember that they beat us. I mean, yesterday they were up against Como, and Como got a red card, and Cremonese couldn't win the game.
Yeah.
Cremonese beat us, and they won the next game, I think. And then after that, they concede so many shots at goal, but they've been defensively capable of holding them out. I think the bubble will burst eventually with Cremonese, and they'll start to sink. But still, take them out and look at Roma and Como, move them up. We're looking at a very interesting league competition this season. Are we going to be able to do it? Are we contenders or are we pretenders? We'll find out soon enough. Again, I think, Shane, you came up with the pod title. I think kudos to you, man. That is perfect for the discussion we're about to have right now. Any comments you want to make on the league table as it looks? Shane, first.
Yeah, it's still too early. So the thing is, it's shocking Lazio. I didn't realize Lazio were that bad. They're not even in the top 8. Like, that's shocking. Is Sarri still in charge of Lazio?
Not for long, mate. Trust me now. Trust me, he's not for long. They're near the bottom of the table, by the way. And if you look at the bottom of the table, you will find Fiorentina on 2 points.
Oh my God.
Pioli has done an absolute. He's opened up the floodgates so that every team can literally run through them.
That's such a shame. I don't want to see Fiorentina go down again. I have a soft spot for that club. I always have done. But like the thing is, you can't not with Pioli ball and average players, like, success you can't get success that point. I still think it's too early though. I think the top 4 or 5, I think that's kind of locked in. I to be honest, I see Atalanta falling off. I think.
Yeah, but yesterday, I think yesterday they proved something quite important. I think to themselves as well. Juventus, I said, a very talented squad, and they had to hold on. Atalanta really had to hold on because they didn't have any chances, Shane. And then one mistake by Juventus in their defense, giving the ball away, and Atalanta scored, and they were on target to hold on until they got a red card, right?
Yep.
So that's how it is. Pretty interesting team. Atalanta are a weird one. The one team I'll say are really having to work hard for their results is Roma. So Roma are missing creative midfield. I think Dybala's got another injury, and Gasperini's style is really... He needs several windows, from my opinion, to fix that squad. He's still got too many remnants. He's still got the Mancinis in there. He's still got the too many kind of... I don't know how to describe them. Blocky players is the only way I can describe them.
He's kind of stuck with a Mourinho squad and he doesn't know what to do with it.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. So I think once he solves that, Roma become dangerous, but not now. They're really they're having to fight so hard to get those 1-0 wins. So, Hasni, any comment from you?
Yeah, there's 2 things that I'm looking out for. One is, of course, the form, how many games they've won. But I'm looking at actually the goals conceded. So this is a bit of an interesting thing that hasn't happened to us in the past few seasons. Is that if you look at maybe the top 6, and the goals conceded, 2 goals for us. We were actually one of the teams that conceded the least number of goals, other than Roma that lost their game, and we only conceded in the first game. Now, granted that Juventus and Inter, they've conceded a lot of goals when they played each other, right? So 4-3.
They played each other, yeah.
So they conceded a lot of goals, but there's something not too bad about this. And as we know that, I don't want to say it, but there are teams that have won titles conceding the least amount of goals. I don't want to stretch that out too much because then you know where I'm going to go with this. But this is something to be proud of, and I think with the Allegri system, because even last season, on seasons before, we've conceded goals against shit teams, and we've even had our defenders come out and say that we concede shit goals. So other than the first game, I think we are pretty much in good shape. But we just have to keep an eye that a win is a win. A win is 3 points. A loss is 0 points, and even a draw is going to cost you points as well, regardless of who you draw against. So this does make me a bit hopeful, but yeah, I mean, one can only dream. If we're able to get a win tonight, even a narrow win like a 1-0, it would mean the world looking at the table again after that game.
Yeah, and on the other side, if Napoli beat us, they go 6 points clear.
Yeah, that's
it's a funny world, isn't it?
Really.
It's a funny world, isn't it? Okay, so let's move on to the big one, the big preview that we need to do. Allegri ball versus Conte ball. Now, this is a bit of a treat for everyone. The predicted lineup for tonight's game. For those of you listening on Spotify, let me read them to you. The predicted goalkeeper, Magnan, comes back, and Tomori, Gabbia, Pavlovic are the defensive back line. On the right side, you will have Salad. Then it is unfortunately predicted that Fofana will start alongside Modric, Rabiot, and on the left side, Estupinian. And up top, we've got Arsanti and Pulisic. That is the formation. Apparently, Allegri is weighing up whether to start with Fofana or Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Those are the two players that he is seeing as potential starters for this game. Now, one thing to say. First of all, what do you think of the lineup, Shane?
It's good. I like the image there for Santi. That's great. Great work,
What do
John.
you mean? What do you mean? That's Santi, mate.
It is.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It is now. This is where we are. This is Santi now. Shout out, Max. Again, check out Emblem Podcast, one of the best channels on Milan on the webs. Okay, so did you guys hear the really positive statement from Maldini about Salamakers this week?
No, tell me. Oh.
So it was a really well put. So Maldini basically said about Salamakers, he was like, I like to think of Alexis as my last great gift to the club before I left. He's turned into the serious player I knew he would always become, and I know a player when I see one. So that was like chef's kiss. We still love you, Paolo. So yeah, it's been great. Honestly, he just to can't stress this enough. He is very much like a new signing. He's not the Alexis that we that left the club 2 seasons ago. He's become all-round developed player. Superb. Highly surprised at what he's become. He's for me, he's becoming one of the best kind of right wingers in Serie A. So I don't know where he's come out of. Superb. Such a shame that you have Fofana in alongside him. I think we should be done with the Fofana project right now. Give me Ricci all of the time, and if he,
Ricci. I mean, Allegri seems to have shown time and again, Shane, that Ricci is seen as a replacement for Modric.
Yeah, which is even that in itself. I still think if you look at the overall qualities of Ricci versus a Fofana, I still think there's no reason why you can't play the both of them. Because Ricci's just going to learn far more playing alongside someone with the quality of Modric than Fofana is. So Fofana is always going to be a limited player. I think Ricci has a very, very high ceiling, and I think he's going to be in the Italian national squad sooner than we think. I think he's just a wasted spot there. Estupinian, I'm sorry, I can't get hyped over that player. I think I'm too much of a Theo fanboy. My boyfriend, I love that man. He's gone.
Did you see the coast to coast he scored?
I did.
But John, man.
Like, it's such a letdown to me that, like, Theo could have stayed. He could have, and I dare say he would have been rejuvenated by Allegri. If he can rejuvenate, players like, let's say, Pulisic, right? I know he had a good season last season, right? But I think he's become an even better player since Allegri's came. Gabby and Tomori look safe players to become rejuvenated. If he can rejuvenate them, he could rejuvenate Teo, and he wouldn't have to be dealing with fucking Estupinian and Bartosaghi on the left-hand side. Like that you're looking at a Serie A winning fucking squad at that point.
It would be scary. It would be, honestly. Right, Hasni, your opinion on the lineup?
Yeah, I just want to say that, at least we know what Jimenez would look like if he retired from football and became a podcaster. But big shout out to...
Take that, Max.
MLM podcast is great. Yeah, you can catch them out. I listen to you guys on Apple Podcasts, so it's great. But I echo what Shane said about Ricci. And, I was thinking about it, the reasons why he's been excluded from the starting lineup. Maybe, and I think this is part of a greater plan by Allegri, because, of course, Allegri is quite the high-level coach. Not having Ricci face the pressures of the Milan squad in his debut season. So we've had good players, for example, like CDK, yeah? So CDK, he was brought in, high price, high fanfare and all that. He was started in the first, 10 games? Turned out to be a near disaster, didn't feature much after that, and essentially had to be moved on. So if this is a plan to really integrate players over the long term, because we do have Modric, I'm okay with that. We had the same thing with Tonali, by the way. Yeah, so Tonali in that Scudetto winning season, even the season before, he didn't play much. But we knew that there was a player there, and a lot of people were willing to give Tonali the benefit of the doubt. And lo and behold, what happened to Tonali? Great player now. Unfortunately, a great player to be sold.
No, Husney, you're 100% correct, and I agree with you, right? The problem is, I can't look at that team and go and look at Fofana and go, when you have Ricci on that bench, Ricci, that's inexcusable. Ricci has done nothing wrong in a game that I've seen him playing. Fofana he's so limited, right? I get it, and I agree with you 100%. But the problem is, dude, when you have a quality player that cannot be sacrificed for a junk player that has no ceiling, Fofana will be gone in the next window. Maybe not in the next window, but in the summer he's gone. I don't think there's a future for RLC either. I think Allegri's just entertaining him because he's like, well, I have to use the players at my disposal. But there's no future for the two of them in the squad anymore. Estupinian isn't going to last longer than a year. He's going to be gone, right? So it's like, I hate Pavlovic. I hate everything about him, right? So I'm hoping that, once Allegri gets another serious 2 windows in, hopefully if they do something in the winter and get in a decent fucking replacement for Pavlovic, and then also, try and get in someone to cover up the mistake you made by bringing in Estupinian. I'm hopeful that Ricci and Jashari, right, the two of them can just be taking Fofana's spot, because honestly, we can't be happy fielding mediocre players like we have been doing for the last couple of seasons. And for some reason, they just tend to stay around.
Yeah,
Fofana,
right.
He's one of the hangovers from this Moneyball approach that we know he's failed. We know he has a very low ceiling. We know he can't do anything really well. So don't play.
Yeah, you're right. I do agree that Ricci is the better player, and even to compare how Tonali started versus Ricci. So Ricci it came from a team that was on a higher level. So he came from Torino. Tonali came from, what's that team? Brescia, is it?
Brescia, yeah.
Brescia, and they got relegated the following season. And Ricci has started out much better than Tonali did. So I get your point about how he should start ahead of Fofana. But I really can't explain it further than that. I mean, maybe they're just being a bit too conservative in trying to make sure that nothing at all can affect the form or Ricci's mindset. But yeah, there's actually no reason to do so considering the games that we've won. But yeah, and also what you've said about Theo. Had we had Theo instead of Estupinian, I think we were talking about real powerhouse of a team. Because even for France, Theo does play on that position on the 3-4-3. So putting him on the left hand side because and I keep continue to say it, Theo it was already at a point with this that he wasn't bothered to defend. But offensively, you knew he could do something. And with a better coach, it would have made, I wouldn't say world difference because we have won games, but maybe we would have seen maybe even better version of ourselves.
Can I ask
But-
both of you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to keep going. I just have a
Yeah.
question when you're done.
Yeah. But what worries me a little bit about this is that Mike, even though he didn't have much to do in the game against Lecce, he may have a lot to do in this game. So that does worry me a little. I mean, if he goes down with, and God forbid, another injury, or he's, maybe not in form, if I can call it that, that would be a big issue for us. So I am hoping that at the back, and they definitely going to get tested because it's Napoli, right?
Yes.
We really have it covered.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chen.
Go on.
Yeah, so I guess I'll hand it over to you, John, first, right? So my question is because I do this sometimes, I hyper focus my hatred on players I don't like, right? Is my hatred of Pavlovic justified, or am I overdoing it a bit? Like, is there a player in there that I'm not seeing?
So for me, since you said I start, yeah. So for me, my big problem with Pavlovic, and I've said this in the chat, everything he does in the way he plays tells me he does not want to be a defender. He does not want to be sitting at the back, just blocking balls, getting his body in the way, and then passing it on to better players. He actually wants to be marauding forward. He wants to be the player that a lot of the time you will find him in front of Santi Jimenez in open play. So he will grab the ball. If there is space, he will go for it. So I think is a very frustrated central midfielder there in Pavlovic, not a centre back. So that's the first thing. Now it's great that Rabiot is in front of him because Rabiot will have to do the work of blocking balls that would be otherwise in a completely open channel left by Pavlovic. So no, I think you're right. In terms of defensive capabilities, he's just woeful. Yeah.
You see, that's also the problem, John, because you know the way, if he was good at going forward, you might give him a pass, right? Because you'd say, fair enough. If it's a situation where he's crap defensively, but for some reason he can spot a great pass, or he can, but he can't, like, his primary job he's shit at. But the thing is, he's not good at any phase of play. You see, this is the thing, like.
So if the way I see it is like this, if he was in a squad with a really solid back line and somebody put him in the midfield, he would have fun for himself. He would have fun, right? But I don't think he's got the passing capability, by the way, as well, to be a midfielder. But he has this. He needs to be in a squad that is massively strong in defense, and that's not our squad, which is a problem for us. I think in terms of moving forward for the rest of the season, we have a huge problem, and I'm hoping, whether it's the Winter or one of the other players, will eventually force Allegri to go, okay, you need to be rested.
That's a fair point, because he is becoming a bit more au fait with bringing on the Winter now. So the thing is at what point do you kind of just give up the goat? Because Gabbia is a safe pair of hands. I don't like saying it because he's Italian, but he's a safe pair of hands, right? And Tomori, I think he's kind of, you can see his experience there. So the thing is, I think the two of them are locked in for the starting position, right? Which I'm cool with, I'm down with, right? But if you can bring on De Winter and kind of start making him, start molding him into what you want, right? Because I think that there's a player there in De Winter.
Yeah.
I have a take on this, and the reason why Pavlovic does feature more often is that, and I'm looking at the entire squad, I think it's for our set pieces, because the tall players, we don't have that many, and those that are able to convert these aerial balls into goals or at least shots on target. So that's the only reason that I'm seeing why Pavlovic is being preferred over De Winter, for example.
Fair
Fair
enough.
point. But here's
Fair
the
enough.
thing, though, and here's the caveat, guys, because I'm warning everyone on fucking Adderall addicted fucking Milan X and everywhere else, right? You'll see how good Pavlovic is tonight.
Yes. So let's talk about this. That's a great segue to the next
Good
point,
for us
which
or good
is
for Napoli?
well,
No, well, this is the thing. What I should have said really is you'll see how good he isn't.
yeah. Let's talk about the Napoli lineup because that's really important. So I'm going to read to you all the potential lineup as predicted by OneFootball. Meret in goal, Di Lorenzo right back, centre back of Bukema and Jesus, and Gutierrez on the left. Then you've got in a defensive midfielder position Lobotka, and then you've got Anguissa, De Bruyne, Politano, McTominay, and up top Hoyland. So I'm going to read to you the injury list for Napoli. Leonardo Spinazzola, Romelu Lukaku, Nikita Contini, Amir Rahmani, Pasquale Mazzocchi, Matteus Oliveira, and Alessandro Buongiorno. That's a massive, massive injury list for such an early phase of the season. I think this is what Conte was alluding to in terms of multiple campaigns being faced. And he's been accused of basically lining up with the same players every game. And this is what basically happens when you do that. I think the backline of Di Lorenzo, Bukema, Jesus, and Gutierrez are an open invitation. That's their weak point. That's where Milan, I think, is going to have a lot of pleasure. The problem, however, is Anguissa and De Bruyne are very, very high-level players. Excellent high-level players. McTominay I really like as well. And Hoyland, since his arrival at Napoli, earlier on, Shane, you said something about Inzaghi. Watch how Hoyland plays on the shoulder of the defender and uses his pace. You watch this guy go. You imagine Hoyland up against Pavlovic and then tell me what you think the outcome is going to be. But what's your comment on the Napoli lineup and the injuries? Let's start with Husney this time.
Yeah, so they have several injuries, but a lot of their key players, and I would be a lot more comfortable if Anguissa and De Bruyne also, were starting from the bench or were injured, but they aren't. So what I'm hoping for, and if this is possible, Fofana, for whatever he's worth, De Bruyne isn't a physical player, so if you just pin De Bruyne, therefore Anguissa, I don't know, someone maybe from the back three will have to do it. And but the part about Hoyland, as you mentioned, if Pavlovic goes up against Hoyland, it's only one thing that I can see, and that's going to be a red card. And that worries me a lot
Yeah, that's a good
because
point.
Pavlovic does have it in him to do these stupid tackles. And if you can imagine that for a team that hasn't conceded a goal in several games already, to be shocked when a striker is through onto our goal or to Mike, not having the confidence, fireworks is going to light up. So that does worry me. But the battle is going to be won in midfield because the strength of Napoli is still very much in midfield. Same with us. If we're able really to, just have that little bit of edge in the midfield, we can actually do this. We can pull this off. Napoli, then, even though they're undefeated, they're not invincible. They can lead goals, and they have. So we can pull this off if everything works out right. How about you, Shane?
Right.
Yeah, so again, I don't want to over dramatize this because I hate that bullshit, but this game is genuinely key for our season. Because this will tell us so much about our ceiling. We have a chance here to steal 3 points from Napoli because they're severely weakened in that back line. Right? I'd nearly just go for it. And if Leao is fit, probably what I do is I'd take off Santi No, actually, I keep Santi, right? I'd move Pulisic into a Stupinian's position and I'd play Leao and go for it.
I
Because
like that. I like that. That's a
you
great
know,
option, actually.
because if you just go for it against this team with a severely weakened backline, right, and hope that they don't shit the bed if they concede a goal, because I can see them conceding a goal, but the thing is how keyed in is Allegri to conditioning the players not to panic, right? But I think they can win this game. But again, Estupinian is the weak link here, right? But you can easily replace him with Pulisic because Pulisic will do defending for you. So you're covering up
Yeah,
a
you
weak link then.
Great shout.
you made a good point, Shane. Is that and to come back to what we spoke about earlier, if Napoli are indeed that tired, don't we just need to hold out for the first half and really go
Exactly,
guns
dude.
blazing, Leao on in the second
Exactly.
half, and really try to run them down? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
I think off the bench we can bring in Ricci and we can bring in Leao, and I
Nkunku, think about the offensive
and
threat. Just keep,
Kunku, yeah,
trying to
and
fire
I
those goals.
think second half Milan should be way stronger than them. It's kind of as what Fahadinho said. Leao is definitely not capable of starting. Allegri said he's not ready to start a game, but to be on the subs bench, ready to go with Nkunku and Ricci, it will literally transform that squad. And I think in the second half, theoretically speaking, Milan should overtake this game. Yeah. I'm going to stop the screen share, guys, okay?
Super work, Chad. As always.
There you go. Look at that. Aldini in the background. Look at that painting. Any last comments about tonight, guys?
Yeah, I do want to ask it. I think this relates really back to our title. If we can pull it off tonight, and I know it's thinking a bit too far forward, and we can pull it off against Juventus, should we start the Scudetto talk
Yeah.
or not?
No, yeah, I think so. 'Cause if you think about it, right? So if you think about it this way, right? What is the league? The league is that you're consistent over the season, right? There's no reason why we can't be that because we only have one serious competition that we're playing in, right? So we can be consistent. If we get good results against Juventus and Napoli, that's probably two of the best teams in the league at that point. Maybe Inter, right? But Inter, I still think Kivo's going to shit the bed. Kivo's going to shit the bed for them, right? At some point. So I can't see him there past the winter, right? So, I mean, you're literally, you've proven yourself against probably two of the main contenders at that point. So if you can stay consistent, which they should reasonably be able to do, there's no reason why you can't start talking about Scudetto. This is why tonight is key and the Juventus game is key. Because if we can get positive results in those two games, and I think we're better than Juventus.
Ooh,
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think so. Overall, I think from what I've seen, I think defensively we're just better set up, which is a fucking achievement when you have someone self-destructive like Pavlovic in the back line. Right? So
I see Juve as a joker in the pack, Shane, because of their capabilities. I think in pure talent overall as a squad, they have more options of where, the X factor, they have more of them. We've got a strong squad, more senior squad, but I think they can go to a really, really high level. Yildiz is going to be something very special, I think, for years to come as well. Adzic looks like a kind of they got so many players that they're not even playing. Pure pace as well. Yeah. Let's worry about tonight. We've got to focus everything on one game at a time. That's the beauty of what Milan can do, because, as you said, we don't have anything else to go after. So let's focus everything on tonight. Napoli, well, let's see. The Champions League phase is a very weird system. We've experienced it ourselves. You can afford to throw away a couple of games, actually, and still make the top 24 because there's so much trash within that entire league competition for you to go through to the knockout rounds. Yeah. It's not that difficult. But yeah, let's focus everything on tonight. Forza Milanismo, the last thing to say is the Curva are back. They have been told not to have banners. Yep,
Did you ever realize that? That's one thing that gets me with guys from the States. Free speech is fine until you're a business owner, and then you don't like people practicing it. It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm a bit surprised that the Curva accepted that. It's a different Curva to what I remember, honestly. Sorry.
There's this comment online that I saw that the Curva only back because we're informed.
No,
that wouldn't surprise me, mate.
No, I mean, I give the Curva credit, right? They're genuinely always consistently showed up. But the problem is, though, dude, I don't like the lack of banners, because indirectly what you're saying is you can come in and you can do what you like, but you just can't show any. You can't show anything that's a rhetoric against the club owners, and that's not the way that it should really be, because that rhetoric is there for a reason. So indirectly, you're saying that you can't have a point of view about something that's destructive for the club. So fuck that. I think that they still shouldn't show up.
Oh, I agree with you. They should. They should have just held their, been a bit stronger, to be honest.
Because what have they achieved?
So weak.
Yeah, what have they achieved?
Absolutely nothing, mate.
They're coming back with their tails between their legs, and now they're saying, "Oh, you can't have banners." It's like, what the fuck is the Curva without the tifo?
Yeah, well, we'll be watching tonight. At least there should be a bit of chanting and screaming, and when people say players' names, the fans will know the players' names. when the announcer calls out the players' names, the fans will be able to answer their surname, which is just pathetic that they didn't know that in previous home games. Actually, before this announcement about Curva, I was thinking that home games are going to be a bigger handicap than away games, because we didn't have the Curva with us in home games, but we do have them in away games. So if you notice the big difference in noise level in away games versus home games, at least they'll be there today. But yeah, I'm curious about the banners and the tifos. If I was them, I'd be like, F you told us not to do it. Here we go. Here it is unraveled.
Yeah.
Teach you a lesson. That's what I would do. But again, I'm not one of them. Never will be. Never was.
I don't. Yeah, but the thing is, though, John, I don't. It's not a good precedent to accept, right? Because essentially, what you're saying is, if you have any problem now in future with the way that the club is being run, you just can't come to the game and voice your opinion.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty much.
So.
Yeah. And it just leaves me to say thank you to. Now, let me see if I've remembered everyone. Fahadinho, Raymond, Kim, Max. I think there's some of the people that I've seen today. I don't know if you spotted anyone else.
No, that's it, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and Kim did join us at the beginning. He says he's going to listen to the rest of it later.
Nice one.
But cool. Have a good one. Good luck for tonight, guys. We'll be watching. I'm sure the WhatsApp is going to explode tonight, watching that. And let's hope we get a win.
See you next week, fellas. And, if you're still curious about joining our WhatsApp channel, do drop us a DM in our socials, and be sure to send you the link to add you on. And
ciao a tutti.
Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.
Che comunque il calcio è imprevedibile e le cose non sono mai scontate, quindi è anche la bellezza, no, di questo sport.
Io rappresentavo per questa squadra, era quello che non mollava mai, quello che doveva fare stare sempre su il morale, ma io mi ci trovavo bene, perché sono sempre stato uno che mi piaceva dare fuoco ai miei compagni, caricarli prima delle partite.
Il mio sogno di essere avverato è uno dei sogni dei bambini, di tanti bambini.
È un qualcosa per la gente che riusciamo a fare diventare matti, riusciamo a fare diventare felici e contenti.